Let's go, baby. We live. We live, baby. Hell yeah. What's going on, SwampCast? What's going on, baby?
Yo!
Welcome back. We're going to be doing a live reaction to the selection show, or Selection Sunday for 2026 March Madness, baby. Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff to talk about here. Obviously, a lot of bubble teams that are staring at their screens. Auburn's crying on Instagram, hopefully to be in. I know you said the Big East just got announced, right, EJ? Or not Big East, but the east side of the bracket, right?
Yeah, the East region was just announced.
Okay. Oh, you know what's cool? I can actually throw this on screen. Hold up.
Oh, nice.
Because
Yeah.
I actually have it. 1 second, y'all. Beautiful. Okay, here we go. I have it. I'll move it. Oh, my head's in the way. Okay, I'm gonna move our heads over in the center so you guys can see it as well. Yeah, I have it on here, EJ, which is perfect. Our heads won't be exactly in the center of the screen, but it works. All right, so you can see we got Duke obviously hitting the #1 seed, EJ, right?
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, yes sir. We got
So
Siena.
so UCF UCF make it? Did they make it?
UCF
okay.
made it. UCF made it 10 seed,
right.
which is pretty interesting. UCF's an interesting team. USF at number 11. I love it, baby, with the 11 seed. That is awesome. I like USF, baby. USF's we got some dirty little Florida teams that can make runs, but they're playing Louisville though, so we'll see. That's a tough first matchup for them, right?
Yeah, I mean, so let's look at this. So you got Danny put UCF. So it could, like, if UCF gets an upset. Oh yeah, no, they'd have to meet each other in the Sweet 16. Looks like.
Yeah, yeah.
That's gonna be a tough draw.
And they're playing Louisville first game, dude. And even if they beat Louisville, they got to go on to play Michigan State.
So South Florida, they were like a projected as a 12, but they got moved up to an 11. They will be a trendy pick for an upset in that first round. So we'll see. We are monitoring whether or not we're going to be a #1 seed right now. Okay, the show's back. The show's back on.
I got on my screen as well. Oh
wait,
oops! I can't show that. I forgot. Oops.
Oh yeah,
they're not trying to get copyrighted here.
Yeah, they're gonna come after us if they. All right, so they're showing Arizona. I don't know, Arizona. Man, they're good. They look like they're having a block party.
Dude, Arizona is so dirty, man. So dirty. Cause like, listen, you guys will even be able to tell in this video. EJ knows a lot more about basketball than me, but I have been keeping up with teams this year and like keeping up with brackets and projections and stuff. And yeah, dude, I love Arizona because Arizona's a lot like Florida, right? In the sense of they're great in the paint.
Yeah, they play that West Coast Gonzaga style, except they're much better on defense than Gonzaga is.
Yeah.
So
third in the country, I think they're rated.
Yeah, so Arizona is just going to be a very popular national championship pick, and that's something that we got to look at. Like ESPN brackets will come out with like what percent of the country, what percent of the brackets pick this champion. Arizona is probably going to be. Last year was Duke. It'll probably be Duke again this year.
I'm picking Duke to win it all. Cam Boozer, right? Whatever his name, that dude's just ridiculous.
Yeah, he's really good. I'm interested to see where they're going to put Arkansas, because Arkansas,
they
SEC tournament, they've been cooking. Arkansas has been cooking lately with Acuff, so they're gonna be a little tough little matchup. They better not put them in our bracket, okay? They were in our bracket last year. Put them somewhere else.
How does that work, EJ? So you got East, you got the North, South, whatever it is.
Oh, There they go. They put them in the West.
They're in the
Oh,
West. All right. I'm
oh,
waiting for it to update
damn.
on the thing. Okay, here we go. It's updating super quick. Arizona gets put in the West against Long Island.
Yep. And then you got Villanova, Utah State, Wisconsin's the 5,
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas is the 4. Ooh, Arkansas. They were. I'm happy they got a 4. They deserve a 4. Honestly, I'd put them as a 3 if it was me, because but
Wisconsin
Arkansas.
and Arkansas. I mean, that should be a win for Arkansas too. No, I mean, taking it as if there's no going to be no upsets here, but
Wait, who do they have as Arkansas playing?
Arkansas plays Hawaii, and then they
Oh,
play. Then
oh,
Wisconsin play High Point, so it should be Wisconsin Arkansas there in the second round. But that's gonna be a fun matchup. But
oh, that's
Arkansas
baby
has to.
food.
But Arkansas's got to play Arizona fast as hell in that Sweet 16 if they do match up. That's gonna be
Whoa,
crazy.
that'll be something. I can't wait. They need to let's just go ahead and fast forward. Arkansas versus Arizona. That'll be the game right there. I'm telling you, if Arkansas can beat Arizona, I don't know. They might take it. They might take it to the Final Four. I don't know. We
Oh,
might.
we got some more being put up here. We got Gonzaga, number 3 seed against Kennesaw State, and then Miami playing Missouri.
Wow, number 7
Wow.
seed Miami. Oh, against Missouri, the
Yeah,
number 10 seed.
that's gonna be a great game, dude. That's gonna be a
Ooh.
really really good game. I love that. I love that.
All right, Rob is on. We got 850.
What's going on, 850? Said, yo. Not happy how
Rob
we've been playing, EJ.
guards are not. Yeah, Rob. Listen, I don't know what happened. It just seems like in those conference tournaments, how you're playing that first game is tells you everything about how the rest of the tournament's going to go. And we were just not making anything against Kentucky. And so you play a team like Vanderbilt where it stretches your defense because Vanderbilt, like their centers are shooting 75% threes.
Dog.
So it's like,
No, I mean, it's insane.
so it's like you're not going to win that. And then also, I don't like to blame the refs, but
Charge foul.
uh, uh, there was a stat put up there where in conference games officiated by Pat Adams and Doug Shows, who are the 2 worst referees in the nation, by the way. Florida is 2-4 in SEC games the last 3 years, and 32-2 in all other games. So it's like the way that you call the game like dictates how you play on defense. And so it's just wasn't our game. You got to give it to Vanderbilt, but yeah, Golden's got to get those boys right. They can't be out there playing all scared and timid and scared to shoot. So they
Oh,
put Purdue as the number 2 seed in the West.
also, did you see the first 4? You have Texas and North Carolina State.
So
Yeah.
Texas made it in. Okay,
Yes.
guys. Texas was a bubble team. All right, well, that's boding well for the SEC. So, wait, did they announce the number? Are we a number 1 seed? Like, what the hell?
No, yeah, we haven't got to that yet because I'm on the website. The website's not,
Right.
which is the website's updating quick as hell, bro. Except it's not saying who BYU's playing, number 6 seed, which they should be playing the 11th, and I don't know who the 11th seed in the West is. So there's nothing coming up on the website yet, EJ. But yeah, I mean, look, Purdue, whoever wins Miami versus Missouri, which I think is going to be an absolute just a hell of a game there. They're these poor people got to play Purdue in the second round.
Purdue just beat Michigan. Now,
That's what dude, they're so dirty, bro.
Purdue is just one of those teams so they were preseason number 1, Purdue. Purdue and Florida are the 2 teams that were like preseason top 2, top 3, had all these expectations, and then kind of like Florida hit a lull in the beginning of the season. Purdue kind of like a third of the way through the season, they lost like 3 games in a row. So they kind of fell off, but winning the Big Ten tournament and beating Michigan is pretty, you know, that's pretty big. They're the type of team that can also give us problems because like they slow the game down and they can challenge your bigs with their size. And that's what they did with Michigan, and Michigan just couldn't. I'm pretty surprised Michigan got beat by Purdue, but you know, um, so in the West, you don't see the 11s because it's the play-in game. So it's Texas
Oh,
versus NC
right,
State.
right. Duh.
So the winner of that one will play BYU.
Man. Well, I mean, BYU, they lost that one dude, right?
Yeah,
What's his name? The dude, he tore his ACL. Um, and they haven't really been. I mean, they had a couple of. I was looking at, I don't really follow BYU like that, but I was looking at their schedule since they lost them. They've had a few good wins, but still not the same team without Saunders, I think,
yeah.
at all. So that, I don't know how far they'll make it, but it will be an interesting first game against, once again, either Texas or North Carolina State. Who do you think takes that win, Texas, North Carolina State, EJ, for the play?
Normally I would just say Texas, but Texas has been playing really crappy lately. Um, but the thing about the SEC this year is uh statistically speaking, the SEC has a lot of top rated offenses this year. Very poor defenses. The reason why Florida was able to win so many games because we also have a good defense for the most part of the season. Texas is still a top 10 offense on KenPom, which is kind of crazy to think about. So we'll see. Like, can NC State score against Texas at will, or is Texas gonna, Dalen Swain and Pope, and then who's the other guy that shoots it and then he falls down while he
Oh,
shoots the
yeah,
ball?
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Dang, I could see his face, but his name is escaping me. But they also have Vokatitis, who's a big time center, who's a pretty good big. Um, so they have a really balanced team, Texas. So we'll see what happens. Um, Rob says, did UConn lose to St. John? Yes, St. John's blew UConn out by 20.
Which was huge.
The same day that we got beat by basically 20 to Vanderbilt. So
Same day Houston also lost.
yeah, Houston lost, we lost, UConn lost, Michigan lost, but the tournament was pretty much already seeded Saturday. Well, probably like way before that. Um, so as you can see, Michigan's still the number one seed. They're going to be in the Midwest. Um, uh, Great. So of course, our region is the last one to get announced.
What are we?
So
We're south,
we're gonna be in the South,
and they're gonna do us last. Great.
unless we're the two in the Midwest. So we'll see.
Michigan
Which honestly,
number one seed. Midwest.
Michigan number one seed. It honestly wouldn't. Oh, Georgia,
Number
8,
8.
9. Ooh, Alabama is the 4. Oh wow. Okay. Um,
Bama 4 seed. I mean, Bama's a scary 4 seed if they can play at least a little bit of defense. Texas Tech 5 seed.
so listen, if Texas Tech and Alabama make it to the second round and they play each other, that will be a really good game, I think, because those teams are very similar. With they both just want to shoot threes. So, oh, Tennessee. Okay, where are the Vols? They're playing Miami of Ohio versus. Oh, Miami of Ohio is in a playing game against SMU. Ooh.
We're still a little behind on the website.
Okay, Rob is saying he kind of wants to be the 2 seed. Yeah, Rob, the only positive about being the 1 seed is, Golden is a statistical guy, right? So statistically speaking, the number 1 seed is like way more likely to advance and win the tournament than a number 2 seed, according to all the metrics. Um, okay, so Kentucky is the number 7 seed. They were playing Santa Clara, the number 10. Ooh, I don't know. Ooh, man. Santa Clara?
I was about to say that's fun.
Santa Clara they're a California West Coast team. Um, did they win the No, Gonzaga beat them, but Santa Clara that's a tough little team.
26-8 on the year.
Yeah. All right, they put Iowa State as the number 2 seed. Did they really put? See, this is what I don't like. So they're gonna have us as the 2 or the 1 in the South, and we're gonna end up having to play Houston in the Elite Eight in Houston. So
that blows.
That
really blows, man. Yeah, Iowa State. I would rather Iowa State. I think is the worst out of like the top group of teams for sure.
Yeah, like Michigan got an easy little. I don't know. This is going to be a very interesting. Like, can you pick Mike White to win that first game against St. Louis to go and play Michigan? I haven't seen Clemson seeded, so that means they're going to be like one of the 8 or 9. So we're going to end up having to play Clemson probably in Tampa.
Which I will be there in Tampa.
I'm gonna see if I don't know if I can make it. I'm gonna see. I can definitely probably make the Sweet 16 if we make it.
Play-in down here is going to be UMBC or Howard for that 16th seed in the Midwest.
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting. So
yeah,
should be Michigan going on to play Georgia. Yeah, I mean that's going to be. Once again, do you really trust Mike White to be a Michigan team? Probably not.
Nah.
Probably not.
I mean, I feel like Georgia can probably give them a run for their money a little bit because Michigan, Michigan, they were playing some very close games in the Big Ten tournament and then finally got beat by Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't rolling.
Ooh. SMU and Miami, Ohio for the play-in at the 11 seed, bro. That is awesome. So whoever wins that's playing Tennessee. Wow.
Yeah, Miami of Ohio, they were 30, I think they were 30, what are they, 31 and 0?
Yeah.
31 and then they lost.
Mm-hmm.
So
and then they're playing SMU. That's going to be a fun one there, man. They'll play
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. So we got the bracket updated here. We're just looking for the South to be revealed. Rob saying we're a number 1 seed.
Should be.
It is kind of interesting that we ended up getting the number 1 seed. Especially after losing. But I mean, UConn was in the other team, Wait, has UConn been placed? Yeah, okay, yeah, they're in Duke's bracket. I kind of feel like of all the number 2 seeds, Houston is the best number 2 seed, and we have to play them. But I guess because we're the worst number 1 seed, they put us together. So that's how So if you're the number 1 overall seed, you're basically they seed the tournament 1 through 68. And so they put like the number 1 overall seed um, with the 68, and then they go, 2, 67, 3 with. And so what they do is once they place it like that, then they go around and make some changes based off of like rules they have. So for example, you can't have the number 2 seed um, in the same region as the number 1 if they're in the same conference and they already played twice or something like that. Um, you can't have the same 2 teams meet in the first round if they've already played each other in the regular season or something like that. Some weird. So then they go and they make these changes for the geographies and all the rules. And the way it works out is Houston gets to play in Houston if they make it to the Sweet 16, which is obviously a home court advantage for them.
It's like playing Vanderbilt in Nashville.
Kind of like playing Vanderbilt in Nashville. Kind of like playing Kentucky pretty much anywhere, since they always bring all their fans no matter where they go. All right, so it looks like we're back. Let's see.
I mean, yeah, that's funny. UConn, even if they go all the way, they got to play Duke in the Elite Eight. That's hilarious. I love that.
That will not be fun.
No, it will not. You got Iowa State probably going to play Kentucky if they beat Santa Clara.
Gators, here we go. Number 1 seed.
Huge, baby.
All right. Okay, if we can play, guys, let's play. Let's go. Okay, who we playing? Ty Golden. Ty Crash Out Golden. Here we go.
Let's it's not on my screen yet, so let's see.
All right, so we're the number 1 seed in the South, baby. We're going to be playing Prairie View or Lehigh. Okay. All right.
Nothing on our screen yet.
See, I knew it. Clemson is the number 8 seed. I knew it. They're a little tricky. They're a little tricky team. All right, so we'll be playing Clemson or Iowa winner. Ooh.
Iowa, I mean, Iowa is just inconsistent, though. You know?
Hell no. They put Vanderbilt as the number 5 seed in our bracket.
Dude.
What the hell? So, why?
That's so annoying, bro.
So they'll be playing McNeese, so that'll be interesting. Who's the 4? Vanderbilt is a 5. I could have sworn they were going to be a 4.
Our bracket is not getting updated.
Nebraska.
At all. Okay,
all right.
In Iowa.
All right, so Nebraska is the 4.
Nebraska is a really good team. I like Nebraska.
Man, all right, so Nebraska will be playing Troy. All right, this will be. Ooh. This is going to be interesting, guys. So the first round game, we should be able to win that pretty easily. Clemson or Iowa, that'll be tough. All right, North Carolina is the 6. And then after they reveal this, we're going to look a little bit closer at like Clemson and Iowa. Maybe we should look at, we don't really know who we're playing because it's Prairie View and then Lehigh both have to play, which whoever you think is going to win that game, pick the opposite, and that's who we're going to play. That's pretty much how those play games go.
Does that mean Vandy has to play Houston?
No, Vanderbilt is the 4-5. So just like in here's the funny thing.
It's just not updated.
They were the 4 seed in the SEC tournament. Now they're the 5 seed in our freaking bracket. Like, we just played them, put them in another bracket, people. Like, why the hell are they making us play them again?
Yeah, we're going to play them early.
The 3rd time we played them. So isn't that like a rule?
It's annoying is what it is. Still pretty behind on our bracket, EJ. We just finally got Nebraska and Troy up there. I mean, Nebraska Vandy will be, like I said, Nebraska's just very inconsistent. Nebraska, they've had games where they beat Ohio State, I believe, no, my bad. I was looking at someone else. Nebraska offense 50th, 5th defense in the country. They do a good job creating turnovers. Really good 3-point
Okay.
defense. So I mean, you know, their good 3-point defense against Vanderbilt can be really good. Force Vanderbilt in the paint. Be able to control the momentum a little bit, maybe.
Okay. Um. All
North
right. So to round it
Carolina.
out, Houston's the 2 seed. St. Mary's is the 7. Texas A&M is the 10. So um, Houston going to be playing Idaho. Idaho is very happy, but they are going to get absolutely obliterated in that game. I don't know. You never know. I mean, let's see what happens. But Houston is just one of those um, surefire teams.
Who's
Um,
Houston playing?
Idaho.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So Rob is saying, does that mean Vandy has to play Houston? No, if Vanderbilt advances, we would play them before. It's either us or Vanderbilt playing Houston. It
When
won't
when
be
yeah, when he asked that, the thing wasn't filled out. Now finally, the whole bracket's actually filled out for us, which is huge
okay.
on the screen now. So now they can kind of see everything. I mean, yeah, Houston, Idaho, um, Texas A&M, Houston. That should be an easy win for Houston. I mean, I don't really like Texas A&M. Um, Illinois, North Carolina. So yeah, I mean, best case scenario, we're probably going to be facing Houston in the Elite Eight if we do win. But I think the biggest hurdle for us, CJ, is gonna be Vanderbilt. I mean, I think Vanderbilt in the Sweet 16 is gonna be tough. We can hope Nebraska. I think we obviously do a really good job We match up with Nebraska a lot better than we match up with Vanderbilt. Um, uh, because Nebraska, yeah, they have the fifth defense in the country, but a lot of that defense is really good around the 3-point line. From
Yeah.
my research, and so that's massive compared to Vanderbilt, who's out here shooting threes like you said with big old number
Yeah.
99, and bro
Yeah. We
just hits
can't.
every shot with a 42%. What's their 3-point percentage on the year, EJ? Even in the
Well,
loss to Arkansas, it was 42.
that will. Well, I mean, Arkansas. It's all about matchups, right? And Vanderbilt, for some reason, when they play us, they're they're a jump shooting team. Our what Ty Golden has created at Florida is we shoot 2 shots basically. 90% of the time. We're gonna shoot shots at the rim or dunks, or we're gonna shoot threes because that statistically speaking, all the statistics say those are the best shots. Boogie Fland is really the only player that'll shoot a mid-range jumper. Thomas Houck hit a mid-range against Kentucky to kind of seal that. It's a very rare shot for him. Xavier Lee will every now and then try and shoot a mid-range jumper. So will Klavjar, but those are very few and far between. We'll shoot about, I don't know, 58 shots a game. If 8 of those shots are not a layup or a three, I'd be very shocked. The issue with Vanderbilt is they're a jump shooting team, and our defense is set to defend layups or threes as well. We're not set up to defend mid range NBA threes. And Vanderbilt is a team that all they shoot is mid range and threes. Now they can shoot layups, but when they play us, they know that we're going to block their shot. So they go to Okereke, Washington. Those guys can hit fadeaways in 15 footers, and they go in every single time. Now when they play Arkansas is a little bit different. Arkansas doesn't have low post players that just stick around in the paint. Um, Arkansas is comfortable stretching their defense out and playing on the perimeter, which makes it a little bit tougher for Vanderbilt. Which is why Arkansas is a tough matchup for Vanderbilt. And then Arkansas also does not turn the ball over. Acuff is very, very ball strong. He does not get the ball stripped away from him. When we play Vanderbilt, Xavier Lee is like bobbling the ball all over the place. They're stealing it and going for easy layups. So it's like easy layups off turnovers and wide open threes from their centers because Chenyolu is not going to run out there. And so that's how they beat us. Now, Nebraska, from what I'm seeing, they've also got a really good defense. Like you were saying, Nebraska also shoots pretty well from three as well. So that'll be an interesting game. They're a little bit slower pace of a team. I'd much rather play Nebraska than Vanderbilt, but we'll see what happens. The thing about Vanderbilt is their offense is just very, very tough for us to match up with. Our defense can usually match up with anybody else, but Vanderbilt's a tough draw. So let's hope Vanderbilt gets upset. They're playing McNeese. Because we want to make it to that Elite Eight.
Yeah, we do. No, for sure.
All right, so what's Rob got to say down here? Tell me you guys if you guys agree. If Hauk is your best player, then you have a good team. If Hauk is your second best player, then you have a great team. Right now, Hauk is our best player. I see what you mean. Like, if your best player is a guard, it opens up a team that has dominant low post players so much. You know what I mean? Like, could you imagine if Arkansas had like Alex Condon on their team? Like they'd be undefeated. Like because he or Chinyalu. Because like A Cuff with one of those guys down low, I mean, they'd be virtually impossible. They're already when they get going, they're almost impossible to stop in terms of like just get a defensive rebound.
Just
Like every
look to us last year for an example, EJ. Walter Clayton back there. You know what I mean? That with mixed with the bigs that we have this year because they pretty much all returned, and so that's a great example of when you have Walter Clayton on the outside. Who I think was our best player last year by far, and you have those bigs in the inside that can make a lot of plays. Yeah, I'm with you 100%, EJ.
Yeah. So I mean I agree with what Rob is saying.
See his point.
Hauk has developed into being an all-around player, but the one thing that will separate him from like an A-Cuff or a Clayton Stringer is just his handles, right? Like he's developed great handles over the last couple of years, but he doesn't have like he's not like Michael Jordan out there or A-Cuff like going between, like sizing you up and driving to the hole, So that's what you would expect from like a Boogie Fland or a Xavier Lee who do have the handles, but neither of those guys are at this point able to really get theirs. Like they're not really that dynamic of a threat when it comes to all right, so look at this. So basically they're saying the East is the toughest overall seed or bracket. The South is the second. The West is the worst, and then the Midwest is the third.
I mean, yeah, the East is pretty dirty.
Yeah, the East is pretty dirty.
I mean, Ohio State, Duke, St. John's. You got Kansas in there. The South Florida team that could definitely maybe go to the Sweet. I don't know if they go to the Sweet 16, but could have an upset against Louisville that first round. EJ, Michigan State, UConn's in there. I would have to agree.
That's dirty. Now, I do think our bracket is pretty tough too when you have us and Houston in there.
And Vandy.
And Vandy, who is just like a matchup nightmare for us, and a matchup nightmare for Tennessee too. And like us and Tennessee are very similar in that we have big low post players that are uncomfortable defending the three. And so when you have a team like Vanderbilt where everyone shoots threes and now Akpara has to run out there and try to put a hand up, it's like you're going to give it up. So, Nebraska, we need you to beat Vandy, okay? Do your job. So I mean, let's take a look at our bracket that you got up here. If you're taking a look at first our region, so Prairie View versus Lehigh. Where are these guys rated. So Prairie View A&M is 288th on Kim Palm. They're the champions of the SWAC. Crib, FAMU. It could have been FAMU, but Prairie View, won the SWAC. Yeah, they're gonna get clobbered. One of the things that we got to make sure that we do is we stay healthy in that first game. Prairie View and Lehigh are pretty much the same teams. Lehigh is 290 on offense. Prairie View is 310 on offense in the nation, so not great. Lehigh is 257 on defense. Prairie View is 232 on defense. So if you go by like how I pick teams on football, how I pick teams on basketball is who's got the best point guard, who's got the highest rated defense. Okay. If there's a team that has a higher rated defense and they also have the best point guard, pick that team in your bracket because 9 out of 10 they're going to win. If it's like a team like us where we're always going to have the best defense unless we play Duke, Michigan, or Arizona, because those are the only teams with better defense than us. What happened?
Oh, okay. No. I'm looking at their stats, and they said 3-point percentage from this guard is 66%, and I was like, what are we talking about? But no, it's weird. He wears number 1 on the team, but hasn't played a lot, so it's a blown up stat. But I saw that, and I was like, what are you talking about?
Is that from Prairie View?
I'm looking. If you see on the screen, I have like if you click on the things on that bracket on the actual matchups, it comes up the stats for each team, each individual player, and yeah, that's Prairie View right now. So I wish they had it kind of in order on the starting 5 on here. You can kind of tell by minutes played, but still it would be nice just to kind of have that option on it. So you were talking about guards, so I just wanted to look at it while you were talking.
Yeah. So here's the thing that is good. Field goal percentage, we're above 47%. That's a statistic that if you're not at 47 or better, this is how you fill out your bracket. Who's got the better defense? Who's got the better point guard? Go with that team every single time. Number 2, who's shooting above 47%? If you're not shooting above 47% on the year, and the other team is, put that as another check mark. 3-pointers, 33% or better. Now, we're only 31%. So that's an issue for us, and it was an issue in we're Nashville. We couldn't hit the right side of a barn. I'm sitting there, I'm like, what happened? We were just making threes. I think it was that stadium, and like when the ball hit the rim, it just sounded like it was hitting a brick wall instead of like a rim. Usually there's like a rattle sound, but in the SEC tournament, it was not clean. So hopefully in Tampa, get it together. We need a soft rim.
Is it confirmed we're playing in Tampa now?
Yeah, the first round for our little 4-team mini bracket. So it's how they do it. It's kind of the South region doesn't really become the South technically until you actually get to the Sweet 16, because those first 4 games are they're split all over. So like we'll have 4 teams from the South region, and I think like the West bracket will also have 4 teams playing in Tampa or one of those regions. So we'll see. I'm wondering, is the date and time of our game announced?
First round is the 19th and the 20th, but I don't know. Hold on. Let me look at the website. It might. When the hell did these guys play? They play. Does not say it on the website, at least.
Yeah, so we are. Yeah, so are we playing Friday or Thursday? If anyone knows,
here, I'm looking it up right now.
Let us know. I would love to know for.
It's not saying it. Let's see. March 20th.
March 20th. So what's that? That's a
Friday.
That's a Friday. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, good. We're playing Friday. Guys, this is big. I think we've only won the tournament if we've played on Friday instead of Thursday. So you want to play on Friday. You want to get that extra day to get like watch other teams, and then if there's an upset, then your coach can say, "Look, they got upset. You need to bring it." Um, so okay, so play on Friday. Um, and you want a little extra day of rest as well. Um, you know, I don't really think we should waste our time looking at Lehigh and Prairie View. I think, obviously, no disrespect to them, anything can happen. I mean, we might go over 20 from three against these teams. Um, uh, but we should only hit 1 3 in the game and still win by 20. So I mean, to be perfectly honest with you. But what I want to look at is this Clemson versus
Iowa.
Iowa game, because Iowa is a dirty little team. All right. Um, for reference, Iowa has some wins this season over. Uh, let's see here. Looking at their non-conference. Non-conference not that impressive. They did beat Ole Miss in the non-conference, but other than that, you play 20 Big Ten games, so you don't really play too many non-conference games. Now they did in conference. They have a win over Nebraska in an ugly 57-52 game, so they did beat Nebraska. They beat Ohio State, who's also a tournament team. They beat them by 17.
Huge
They
win.
also, yeah, big win. Um, they also have lost four of their last 5 games. Losing by 2 to Penn State. That's not a good, losing by 3 to Michigan. So they, held Michigan to, down. And lost in overtime to Nebraska. They beat Maryland in the Big Ten tournament, and then lost to Ohio State by 3. Um, let's see, Iowa. Um, when you look at this team from a offense defense standpoint, so they are a very, very slow paced team. So they're 357th average tempo. What does that mean? So that means um, they want to slow the game down. Now, the positive thing about that is we can play it at that, but only if we're making shots and rebounding. If you can get a lead on Iowa and force them to speed up, that's how you would beat a team like that. But they intentionally want to slow the game down and minimize possessions. They're 31st on offense, 30th on defense, so they're not that bad when it comes to being a balanced offense and a balanced defense. Uh, they are, let's see, their average height. They're 37th in the nation in terms of, height. That's, you know, that's pretty dynamic. For reference, we're 13th in the nation in terms of height. They're 25th in Ken Palm, which is a pretty good little ranking for reference in terms of comparables. Kentucky is 28th. We've played Kentucky, we've played Miami and Georgia. They're 31st and 32nd. Any other teams around that rank that we've played? Alabama's 18th. So, for reference, they're on par with all those teams. And 3-point percentage, 33.9% from three. That's, last year we're 34%. So that 3-point percentage actually doesn't really scare me as much. So I'm actually, well, I don't know. I mean, 33.9 is pretty good. relatively
For
speaking.
Iowa.
Yeah.
On the March Madness, it's saying 35.7.
Oh, okay. So I think I'm looking at the wrong. Um, yeah, I'm looking at effective. All right. So 35 is actually pretty
So it's a little bit better for sure.
is a little bit better than okay. So once you get to 30, whew, okay, 35
Yeah.
is a little dirty.
Yeah.
Because
Especially,
I think Vanderbilt is 35, right? Like, is Vanderbilt 35?
I can look at that real quick.
Um,
Yeah, 35.7. I think that's the exact same percentage if I'm not mistaken.
I think it comes down to at that point, like which players are actually um making the threes. You know what I mean? Like um from Iowa. Um Now Iowa will play Clemson, who's number 36 in the in Ken Palm. Um and when you look at Clemson, they've got a little bit better defense than Iowa, not that great on offense. Clemson had a 4-game losing streak in the ACC, where they lost 4 games in a row, pretty much by double digits in mid to late February. Um, they did win 2 in the ACC tournament, including one over North Carolina. North Carolina is just not the same without what's a majigger, and then ended up getting hammered by Duke. Um, I, I don't know. At least looking at these numbers, it's kind of like I don't want to play either of these teams,
Mm-mm.
but but both of them are very, very slow in terms of their tempo. They want to slow the game down and minimize possessions. Um, but when Clemson did play South Carolina, because they play South Carolina every year, kind of like we play Florida State. Um, they won that one 68-61. So it wasn't like it was a very dominant win. Um, uh, yeah. So it was a relatively close game throughout.
Dude,
Uh,
Banks is a monster for Iowa. If you number 6, he's a guard. 23 minutes. 57 or sorry. His field goal percentage is 53.7. 3-point percentage is 47.2. Um,
what's Banks? How tall is he?
it does
Tavion Banks,
yes,
Oh, he's 6'7", 6'7".
and bro's hitting 30. That's crazy. I mean, 47% 3-point attempts. I'm assuming that's average minutes played per game. He's sitting at 47% 3-point. Like, dude's just draining. There's that's a real stat. That's terrifying.
Yeah, so he is the 3. So it looks like Thomas Houck will be playing against him. You got Bennett Sturts, who's also a very capable point guard. Um,
37% shooting three.
yeah, Sturts is everything goes through him.
Jeez.
Um, so I mean, I don't know. Iowa versus Clemson. Who the hell do you want to play? I honestly, I'd rather play Clemson than Iowa.
Yes.
Just looking at these numbers. So everyone root for Clemson. What's Rob say? Rob says, we're the 1 seed every team think. Yeah, it's just the last game. I mean, other than that game against Vanderbilt where we just looked like we didn't show up at all, we were rolling, and I think people would be. We had a little chip on our shoulder. Um, and I'm actually kind of happy because I think when you look at like Kalshi, everyone was putting money on Florida. We were like up to like for a very short period of time, like third in odds to win the national championship. I haven't looked at it now, but we're probably like down to like fifth now because we lost. So that's probably good. You know, people are going to get off the Florida bandwagon. Um, Rob said, if last year's team had this bracket, I'd be so confident being a Final Four bound. Um,
Except for Houston, but yeah, I agree.
I mean, let me think about it. It's crazy that we're number one seed. Can we just celebrate that for a second here? Like back to back number one seeds. Like this is
Think back to October, EJ. Think back to like or like late November. All right, we're sitting with how many losses already at that point? Early December, we're sitting already with 3. I think at that point, if I'm not mistaken, they were good losses, but or a couple of them were, but still, I mean, we everyone was thinking, all right, we might be a Sweet 16 team, maybe.
yeah.
Um, people were talking. People said Elite Eight was kind of the ceiling for this team, and then the boys, just because talent alone and that little the guys the bigs that we have in the paint. And now we're number one seed, EJ. So like, the journey we've been on has just been crazy as well. If you want to speak on that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's probably the reason Todd Golden got the coach of the year, because I think to start off the year, we probably overscheduled a little bit in terms of, you know, playing Duke at Duke, playing UConn in Madison Square Garden, playing
Arizona.
Arizona to start the year. I was at that game. Um, and the interesting thing is in all three of those games, the guards sort of looked how they looked in the last two games, which was a little bit not great, you know. Um, but I think what Todd Golden did, he said, okay, if our guards aren't going to produce points at the level that they were able to last year, we've got to focus on another area. And so he really doubled down on defense. And again, defend shots at the rim and defend the three. And I think when you look at our defensive numbers, we're very good at defending around the rim and defending the three. When teams stretch you, meaning they don't really shoot at the rim shots, they shoot mid-range and threes. Now all of a sudden, and they make them. First of all, if you play Vanderbilt and Vanderbilt is just making it, you're gonna lose. Unless you're able to match them, which we were able to do when we played Vanderbilt in Nashville the first time. We were making our shots in that game, which is kind of crazy because the Nashville stadium is always bad luck to us because it's a weird depth perception. Your bench is not on the sideline, it's in the under the basket. And so the shooting has always been an issue for us over the years there. But the shooting was definitely an issue for us in this game, and Vanderbilt just kept it up. We also turned the ball over a lot. The other thing I want to look up with Clemson and Iowa is, how do you beat Florida? Well, you beat Florida. Like, look at the last two times we've lost, Auburn and Vanderbilt. Those two teams start off hot shooting, meaning they basically make their first 10 shots. I think Auburn started off the game 7 out of 7, if I'm not mistaken. They like literally did not miss the first 7 shots, and they immediately jumped out to like a 10-point lead, and we didn't even get off the bus. Same with Vanderbilt. They immediately jump out to, 22-12 because they've made everything. And you kind of get a feeling that, okay, they're not going to keep that up, but they did. And then we compounded it with, now we're flustered. We're not playing in rhythm. We don't have the lead. So now Xavier Lee and Boogie Flan start acting scared to take over the game. And it's like, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to make a mistake. Pass the ball, stolen, Tanner layup. And so it's like, call a timeout. Let's get our acts together. Last year when we got down by 10 in that situation, there were a couple of games last year where we got down big, and the Missouri game at home, the Georgia game on the road, We lost both, but believe it or not, in both those games, I think we were down by 20 in both those games last year, and we came all the way back to get within one. I actually think we took the lead. Crazy. We took the lead against Georgia. We were down like 36-13 against Georgia, and we came all the way back to take the lead with like a minute to go. And Blue Cane hit that three, but we came back because you have Walter Clayton Jr., who's like, all right, we're down. I don't care. Give me the ball. I'm taking over. And Xavier Lee, Boogie Flan, when we're down, they start to press a little. They start to. So that's the one formula. We can't get behind. We cannot play from behind, because then Boogie and Xavier start, playing a little too, um, compressed and a little too, tight. And when they're playing tight, they're not making their shots. They got to be playing free flowing. So that's the other recipe. So if Clemson or Iowa can start the game 7-for-7 field goals and take a big lead early and force us to come back, that's the recipe to beating us. But if we can keep the game close, if it's a tough game in the first half, let's say the other team's up by one or we're within, two possessions, I really like our chances in a game like that. Because I don't think a team that is not able to just consistently hit jumpers because of the matchups against us are going to really be able to beat us. And the good thing about playing a team like Arizona or Michigan or Duke is Arizona center is not going to shoot threes. Michigan center Mara is not going to get out there and shoot threes. Now for Duke, Boozer can shoot threes. He's actually like a better three-point shooter than anyone we have on our whole team, other than Klabjar. Well, he's probably better than Klabjar from a percentage standpoint. So that's a team it will be problematic. But if we're not able to force turnovers to complement and offset the lack of three-point shooting, that's an issue. I actually like our matchup now that I'm looking at it with Iowa. They look a little. They both, have the same tempo as South Carolina. South Carolina is a team that likes to slow the game down and play half court. And if we can get a lead on those types of teams and force them to be, oh shit, we gotta pick up the pace to come back, I feel like we'll end up running away with a game like that. But the only way a team like Clemson or Iowa can beat us is if they come out hot shooting and take the lead early and then force us to come back. Iowa is a team that I feel like defensively would have a much better game plan against us than Clemson. I think Iowa would probably pack the paint and just really make life difficult for rim shots and then force us to say, okay, look, Florida, y'all are going to have to hit threes if y'all are going to beat us. And if y'all can hit threes, then we'll release the defense and come guard you. But if you're hitting 25% threes, we're going to pack the paint, take away your offensive rebounds, take away your points in the paint, and then, we're going to rebound and we're going to slow the game down and force you to play defense, tire you out, and then by the end, maybe we win. If we're hitting threes, that's how you get a team like that out of that. But typically teams haven't been able to do that to us because we've been able to jump out to a big lead and, they can't pack the paint. They've got to play a more aggressive defense to try to steal the ball to get back in the game. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But this is fascinating. So, Vanderbilt in our region kind of sucks because they're a tough matchup for us, but it's March, baby.
I'm 100%. I just did some research, was looking at, boom, throw that back up there since we're talking about it. The Iowa and Clemson team. Okay, so Clemson allows 32.6% for their opponents threes on 3-point shots, which is above average. So they're more of a defensive team, like you were talking about, EJ, for sure. And then with twos, they only allow 49%, which is
Okay.
I believe above average defensively there. Iowa, on the other hand, allows a 33.7% on threes, which is okay, while they allow 54% on twos, on field goals for 2 points, which is still above. That's like around. That's pretty much average. So the Clemson is a little bit more disruptive in the paint, but obviously a little bit weaker offensively. If I'm not mistaken, compared to Iowa. So it'll be, yeah, 100%. Iowa's a lot better offensively. So there's a give and take there on how we want to play that. Because we're not going to really be shooting a lot of threes and we're really going to be in the paint like we always are, especially if our guard play continues, then I would say that 5% shift is going to be massive. And
Yeah.
that's why I think we would rather be playing Clemson, for sure. I think both these teams are very beatable, but I think Clemson is the way that we really need Clemson to go in and get a victory here. I think Iowa's going to win it. I don't see them beating Clemson. But if Clemson can, especially with how some of these Iowa guys are shooting threes. I mean, the Clemson, like I said, above average in defense against 3-point shots. So, Iowa, if you look at this team, they have really good 3-point shooters here. So if you're Clemson, maybe you could take that away, force them to play more inside. But and they might have a chance to win. But I think Iowa's probably going to take this. I think they just might be too much for Clemson. I think Clemson just doesn't have the offense to keep up with it. But it'll be either way. It'll be a fun one, EJ. And I think both these teams will definitely present a challenge to Todd Golden and these boys. So just some stats to kind of think about there. I'm gonna look up some offensive stuff if you want to expand on that.
Yeah, no. I completely agree with you. I think when you look at, Iowa recently played Michigan. On when was this game? March the 5th. 10 days ago. And Michigan beat them 71-68 in a very close Big Ten matchup. And the reason why is because the composition of our teams are very similar in terms of we like to play guards with bigs. And Michigan's guards have not really been as dynamic and dominant either, right? And so Michigan has a similar sort of profile as us. Their bigs are the ones that score a majority of their points and block all the shots and play defense. And the guards have to sort of facilitate that, right? And so when you look at, and then they lost LJ Kaysen, which was a huge contributor off the bench for them. Because you look at Elliot Cadeau, Boogie Flan, pretty much the same type of player when it comes to 3-point shooting, even though I think Boogie Flan is a much better defender. Cadeau statistically is probably a better 3-point shooter than Flan. But, Cadeau is not a guy that I look at as like a Darius Acuff, or a Tyler Tanner or Duke Miles from Vanderbilt. Like he's a solid guard, but I wouldn't be, scared that he's going to take over the game. You also have Burnett, the other guard, who shares a lot of different minutes with guys coming off the bench. Neither of those Michigan guards are dynamic, but where their bread is buttered is Yaxel Lindeborg, who's basically like a very dominant big. He kind of reminds me of Mark Mitchell at Missouri. Like if there was one player in the SEC that was sort of similar in terms of like they're big, they're fast, they can score at the rim. But Lindeborg is a little bit more of a dynamic player. ball handling. Kind of also has a similar frame to Boozer, so he's a very tough matchup. Morez Johnson from Michigan is also really good. So I just say Michigan because it was a good matchup. Iowa slowed the game down to the point to where, and they rebounded. And a very important stat that I want to look at is shots. Okay, yeah, look at this. Look at this. Okay, so I assume this, and I didn't even look. Iowa got 64 field goal attempts in the game. Michigan only got 45 field goal attempts. So think about that. Think about that. They shot the ball basically 20 more shots than Michigan. Like, that's like the game's over against Vanderbilt. We're down by 17. And then you say, okay, Florida, we're going to give you 20 shots, and Vanderbilt will not have a single shot. And let's see if you can score 17. Like, that's literally what happened. But they shot 39% and got out rebounded 38-25. So from an efficiency standpoint, Michigan's defense, I think, played well enough to force bad shots. And when I look at the turnover battle, the reason why you get more shots than the other team is because when they have possession of the ball, they turn it over. And that's exactly what happened. 18 turnovers for Michigan, only 5 for Iowa. So, which the 18 turnovers is directly correlating to the 19 more shot attempts that Iowa had. It's good in the sense that if we were to play Iowa and we could, live with some turnovers, it's not good in the sense that, Iowa still slowed the game down enough to where Michigan only got 45 shots off. Because even in games where we have a lot of turnovers, we're still getting 60 shots off in the game. But to only get 45 shots off is like really, 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 really bad. So I like the if we did have to play Iowa, I feel good about it, but I'd rather play Clemson. Because I just think we'd be able to flow a little bit better with our offense. And I feel like Iowa will come out there with this tricky defensive game plan. Yeah, don't let Chialu catch the ball, and then it's like, then the refs, whoever the refs are, is like, foul on Florida. And then it's like, oh, great. But they did foul Michigan a lot. And then Iowa is also another team that like doesn't miss free throws like Vanderbilt. Like, the other thing with Vanderbilt is like when they play us, they don't miss their shots and they don't miss free throws. But when they play Arkansas, they miss shots. And so I'm like, oh, Vanderbilt, you like, what happened? I thought you just make everything. So it's just like so wild. I don't know. I feel good about the second round matchup, because I was a little worried for a second there that, the 8-9 could have been like Ohio State or maybe like St. Louis.
The projected one, EJ, that we talked about was Ohio State or Miami, which would have been would have been crazy. And yeah, I mean, listen, I've talked about it multiple times. I like Ohio State. I think Ohio State's one of those little sneaky teams that they're super efficient, and I think I would much rather play one of these two than Ohio State. There's that. I mean, they don't have a great defense, but they have that one guard. I have it written down in my notes here. Bruce Thornton for Ohio State is a monster for him, and I think that they can prevent a little bit of a problem. So I'm a big fan of that Ohio State team. So yeah, either one of these, I'd much rather take.
And Ohio State, look at this. They play TCU, who beat us. Remember, so They could have gave us that would have been the ultimate troll by the committee to be like, oh yeah, Ohio State or TCU for Florida as the 8-9. Then I'm like, and then Vanderbilt in the next round, who you struggle with,
Yep.
you know, um, so but here's the thing. Ken Palm offensive efficiency, um, the one thing, that changed is our net rating. Um, so how Ken Palm does it is um they do this net rating where it's like plus 38, plus 35, whatever. And so the rule is that whatever that plus 38 is, or plus for your net rating, that's the points that you would be favored by if you were to play like the 150th, the middle team, the average team on Ken Palm. And so there's this record out there where if you're plus 35 or greater, um, those teams have always made the Final Four. There's never been a team that's been plus 35 or better that has not made the Final Four. Going into the SEC tournament, we were like 35. Now we're 33.7. And Duke, Arizona, Michigan are 37, 37, 38. So if you want to look at that in terms of, those three teams are definitely making the Final Four. Us and Houston are both 33. We're 33.7. Houston is 33.4. So it's like, who's making the Final Four?
Also, or continue. I just have a stat to throw out.
Now I will say this. On Ken Palm, if you enter the tournament with top 10 offense and top 10 defense, I think the record is something like 90% chance that team also makes the Final Four. So if you go from that stat, we're number 6 in defense in Ken Palm, number 9 on offense. There's only 3 other teams that are top 10 in both. Duke, Arizona, Michigan, the other number 1 seeds. So it's like, which one are you? So Duke, Arizona, Michigan, according to these historical, are automatic going to be in the Final Four because they're all 30 plus 35 or greater, and they're top 10 in offense and defense. Arizona and Duke are top 5 in offense and defense. Michigan is 8th in offense now, but they're number 1 on defense. Houston is 5th on defense, 14th on offense. So they're just outside of that rating. Houston is typically like a top 2 Houston and Tennessee usually are like top 2, top 3 defenses. They both they've fallen off a little bit this year. But yeah, so what's your stat?
No, it was pretty much the same one, except you can even bring it down even more. You could do top 21 if you wanted in offense and defense. And yeah, that includes a Duke, Michigan, Arizona. And then you have Florida, Houston, and Iowa State kind of barely creeping in if you want to do top 21 in okay. Both. And 95% of national champions, I believe, once again, in the past 15, 20 years, have had top 21 in offense and defense. And all those teams go in. So you could break it down even more top 10 offense and defense instead of top 21. And that, like you said, that really narrows it down. Because, yeah, kind of the ones on the bubble are the Iowa States, you know what I mean? And they're trying to kind of sneak in. But yeah, no, I agree. Duke, Michigan, I mean, those teams are especially Duke. I think Duke, based on their net rating or whatever it is like one of the highest teams we've ever seen. I mean, it's like actually ridiculous. I mean, last year we saw the highest combined number 1 seed group ever, going back to like 25, 30, whatever it is, which is kind of crazy. And we're seeing the effect. It's interesting because you see it in college football, and you're starting to see it a little bit more really in college basketball, like this top-heavy thing going on, because then you go down to the 16th seed. It was the worst 16 seeds, like combined seeds that we've ever seen in the past like 15 years or 10 years on last year for March Madness. So you're starting to see the top heavy teams really start to dominate. And yeah, no, it's just a little fun fact to kind of throw out there. And I saw a graphic online showing how each and every year these teams are getting more and more efficient. Like last year, I think Duke was at like 36, whatever. Now, like you said, now they're like 39. It's like 30, not 40. It's once again the highest we've ever seen. And then number 2 this year, which I think is it Arizona? I think it's Arizona. I think they were even higher than last year's Duke or something like that. It's crazy to see the progression in the efficiency ratings and everything. EJ, it's pretty wild. So yeah, no, I mean, like you said, those are teams that you can pretty much guarantee to be up there, and hopefully this will be the year, EJ. We're gonna have the perfect bracket. We're gonna be this is it. This is time. Which, by the way, we need to do that live. I think picking our brackets live would be really fun.
Yeah, we definitely need to. We need to pick our brackets. We're also gonna have a bracket challenge. We're gonna release our bracket challenge link for everyone. So don't forget to sign up. We should give out a prize, maybe a Gator Lock It In official. We both got our shirts on. But here's the interesting thing. Like if you go back and look at historically, all the national champions since like 1997, it's been very rare to see a team 30 plus 35 or greater. Even you look at the 06, 07 Gator national championship teams, the 06 team, believe it or not, we finished number 1 in Ken Palm that year. We were plus 28 net rating. And it's always relative to the teams that are playing that year. So they don't ever compare you to other years. It's relative to the teams that you're playing. 07, we were number 2 in Ken Palm with a plus 30 net rating, number 1 in offense, number 13 in defense. So statistically speaking, this year's team is 5 points, a 5-point spread better than the 06, 07 teams compared to the middle ranked team in the country that year. What that kind of tells me is, and this has been a trend we've been seeing the last couple of years, where Duke is like 39.2 last year. They're 38.9 this year. What that's telling me from a statistical standpoint is that the teams at the bottom are getting worse relative to the teams at the top. It doesn't mean that this year's Duke team, even though they're higher on Ken Palm than any of these other teams in the history, it doesn't mean they can beat any of those teams. It just means the top teams are just getting that much better than the bottom teams. And then you start to think about, like, why is that happening? NIL, transfer portal, people staying longer. Because you think about, like, if you see like Steph Curry, who played at Davidson. A lot of people don't remember Steph Curry. I remember Steph Curry at Davidson because I love March Madness and he was making all these threes. Now, here's the thing. If that was this year and you see Steph Curry out there making threes for Davidson, what do you think is going to happen? Kentucky, Duke is going to, hey, guess what? Come to Duke. We're going to give you $2 million next year to come play at Duke. So now Davidson doesn't have Steph Curry. Kevin Durant. Now he was playing at Texas. I think he was a one and done. Same with they had another really good Trae Young. I think Trae Young played at Oklahoma actually. But all these really crazy good Van Vliet. It was at Wichita State. These crazy mid-major players that go off are few and far between now because they can go to Power 5 teams. And what happens to the middle of the pack of the country? they end up, there's always going to be someone to replace them, but the quality is never going to be as good. So, I think the trend will end up breaking. But if you look at last year, the Final Four was Auburn, Florida, Houston, Duke, and all teams were 35 or greater on plus 35 or greater on KenPom net rating. So this year is Duke, Arizona, Michigan. Florida is fourth, but we didn't hit that magic number 35, which we were until we ran into Vanderbilt. Some highly rated teams that did not make March Madness, which I'm actually pretty surprised at. So think about this, like Auburn. Auburn was 38th in the country in the analytics, and they didn't make it, whereas Missouri was 52nd and UCF was 54th, and they both made it. That kind of sucks, right? But I guess if you're Auburn, you can't lose some of these games that you were losing. They had a couple of games that they lost that just kicked them out.
Yeah, they did have one of the toughest, if not the toughest schedule in the country. I think it was top 5 in the country. So like, I think they played more quad 1 games than anyone. It was something insane. So yeah. I think that was part. Let me go look at it real quick. I know that they posted it, but they posted like a whole like stat sheet of like why okay, yeah. Second most in the country for quad 1 games, quad 1 games with 17. Number 3 strength of schedule in the country. 14th offense in the country. They had I'm going to show my screen. Let me just show my screen real quick for everyone. Boom. There you go. This has everything here. You guys can see what they posted. They posted the win that they had against us. 4 quality wins at home over Arkansas, Kentucky, Texas, North Carolina State, with a win over St. John's. Like, that's the thing. They won some good games, but like you were talking about, EJ, they also dropped some brutal ones as well. So it's...
Yeah.
You can't once again lose some of those, and it sucks for them, but I mean, that's the name of the game.
Yeah, I mean, they lost a couple of games late that they had no business losing. Mm-hmm. But then hindsight 2020, like Ole Miss gave Arkansas a run for their money, and Auburn dropped that game. But I mean, the thing is, you want to play a good non-conference strength of schedule, but you don't want to play like a brutal one, and we kind of we went from playing like an okay non-conference strength of schedule, and then when we got to SEC play, everyone was like, Florida's overrated, they didn't play anyone. And then like we play all these teams and all of them were close games, and you lose, and then it's like, what's the narrative? Oh, Florida, they can't beat the big dogs. And then I'm kind of like, well, all of them were on the road and they were close. So, you can't win. You can't win unless you win. And then you play Duke at Duke, and then they goaltend and don't call it, and then you lose by 1. So,
It sucks though, bro. Like, if you look at some of these losses, I mean, it's what, like you said, this out of conference schedule is ridiculous. I mean, bro, they played Houston, Michigan, St. John's, Arizona in like a month. Like, and then Purdue in like a month span. That is why? Why would you do that to yourself? It's kind of wild.
And they beat St. John's though, didn't they?
They they beat St. John's. And that's the thing. They have some decent wins throughout the season. Arkansas, they lose to Georgia in overtime, lose to Texas A&M, beat South Carolina. You got to do that. They lose to Missouri. They beat Ole Miss. Ole Miss at Ole Miss. They beat us. They beat Texas. but then they lose to Mississippi State though, which is, I mean, you can't do.
Oh yeah, you can't lose to Mississippi State.
But Alabama, Vandy, Arkansas, all in a row is kind of crazy. But if they beat Mississippi State, they lost to Oklahoma by like 13. If you beat Oklahoma, then I think you're in. Like I truly think that if those two games turn out differently, I think you're in the thing. And once again, the Mississippi State loss, like that's brutal, even though it was at Mississippi State. But man, I mean, this schedule is like actually ridiculous, and you gotta feel bad for them. I don't know, EJ, what's your thought on that? I mean, yeah, you can't but like you could sit here and be like, oh, they played all these great teams, but at the same time, it's like you also can't glaze these losses when they're to great teams. You got to win those, you know what I mean, if you want to be in the tournament.
Yeah, and then you have a first-year head coach. You know, I feel for Auburn, but at the end of the day, they knew what they had to do. You had to win the games that you're supposed to win late in the season, and you weren't able to do that. And a team like Texas, who ends up being like modestly better than you in overall record, ends up getting into the tournament over you. So, you know, like I said, don't schedule a good, tough schedule, but don't schedule all of these top ranked teams and then, you know, expect that if you lose, but then, you know, that you're going to get it. So, kind of sucks for them. You know, speaking of strength of schedule, so we, according to KenPom, which I trust their strength of schedule metric a little bit more than some of these other ones, we played the number 5 strength of schedule in the country, which is pretty tough. And then when you look at, like, for example, Iowa, who didn't play like any non-conference teams, they played the 47th toughest schedule in the country, and Clemson played the 65th toughest schedule in the country. So we're battle tested. And so we got to come out and play really, really tough. Vanderbilt took a lot of slack for not playing a tough strength of schedule early in the non-conference, but comes out, they played the 13th strength of schedule according to KenPom analytics. So, you know, Vanderbilt, you know, doing a pretty good job. Nebraska played the 42nd strength of schedule in the country. So the SEC is still, we don't have the top ranked teams like we normally do. In the top 10, like last year we had like 4 teams in the top 10 of KenPom, I think. Let me see.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, Florida, Auburn, Tennessee, and Alabama were 3, 4, 5, and 6 respectively in KenPom last year. So, which is why the SEC was just such a powerful league. This year, only Florida's in the top 10 from the SEC. Vanderbilt is 12th. Arkansas is 15th. But, yeah. We'll see what happens. Did you want to do a quick, like, gut bracket of the South region really quick, or
yeah? Let's do it. I'm down. Let me put it back up on the screen. I am down. And like I said, I mean, we could do it separate videos at the same time, EJ, but I think before the games do start, I believe on Wednesday, right? Or Thursday. No, the games start round 1 or the play-in games, the first 4, I mean, start on the 17th. So yeah, that's Wednesday. So we could definitely maybe do like our own, maybe separate videos, so it'd be easier to throw your you know, thing up on the screen, EJ, but it would be fun to do it live and hop on and do our brackets, whether it's separately or together, I think, and just fill in our whole brackets. And also that'd be good to promote the actual bracket that we're going to make. And like I said, me and EJ will talk about it tonight. We might do like an award or something as well. Like you get the shirt or whatever it is. We'll figure out something a little bit later and gives you guys all the updates on that. So make sure you have the the notifications turned on the YouTube, man. When you subscribe, if you haven't subscribed already, do it. Hit that little bell, man, so you're notified every single time we do go live or every single time we post, because a lot of updates and things going on for sure, man. Specifically after every single game, EJ, probably.
Yes.
Whether it's just you or both of us hop on when it comes to Florida, I mean. Doing every game for March Madness would be absolute hell. Every Florida game, and we'll hop on and give a quick reaction. So, and I'll be there Friday. I'm going Friday 100%. I will definitely be out there. Saturday, probably not. I do have plans Saturday. But I will be out.
It'll be Sunday.
Oh, Sunday?
Yeah, so we'd play
Bet.
Friday the first game, and then
I'm there, bro. I'm there. Let's go, man. Hell yeah. That'd be cool. If not, EJ, we could always hop on and do a live reaction to the game. I think that'll also be fun. So if I don't go Sunday,
hopefully Vanderbilt loses, so we don't have to play them.
Yeah, for sure. No, that makes me so much. That makes me so happy. Okay, cool. Well, Sunday we'll either I'll be going, but I'm leaning toward actually doing the live with EJ. I think that'd be really fun. Before we do the quick bracket though of the South, Rob has said a few things in the chat. EJ, I don't know the last thing that we responded to him for. In my opinion, we match up good against Houston. Okay, we talked about that, I believe. Brown's play has also been concerning. Isaiah Brown, Isaiah Brown did look very lost in the Vandy game, EJ. He's had like moments of really popping throughout the season where I'm like, oh, okay, we talked about it on the podcast where he looks like he could be the next guy to really, take kind of that mantle to be the next big player to put the team on his back and to lead, but he looked pretty lost in that van. I mean, most of the guys did, but he did not make his shot choices were rough. He couldn't get open. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, EJ.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing, he struggled the whole team struggled in the SEC tournament, so I don't think it's we can just put it on one player. My crazy theory is having to play Kentucky twice in a row. I don't know if it like frustrated us or it gave us this heightened sense of just, okay, we're better than them. Why do we have to keep playing them? Because the second half against Kentucky, that second 10 minutes, ever since then, we really haven't been the same team, right? Because that last 10 minutes, we weren't very dynamic. Kentucky came back. Then the second game we played Kentucky, we did get off to a little bit of a lead, in the SEC tournament, 8-2, and forced them to come back, and they couldn't. And then it's like, oh, foul. And then they want to pretend like, we're fouling them and that, so that they can come back. And, we just haven't played with that same freedom and fire. And then in the SEC tournament, however you play that first game, if you're not hot, you're not going to be hot in the second game. That's how those conference tournaments go. And so we weren't hot in the game against Kentucky, and we couldn't make anything against Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt was hot. So maybe this week off, getting in a new gym will help us get our legs underneath us. But we also need to work on getting Klavjar open. He hasn't been able to get open the last couple of games. Boogie Flan and Xavier Lee, they have to play more confident and not turn it over. I think that's the biggest thing. Last year's team turned it over too, but they could overcome it. And what did Rob say? Yeah, we got to be grateful on getting a 1 seed. There was some analysts who said there was no way we could get a 1 seed and penciled us as a 3 or 4 when we were 5-4. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was a great turnaround, and playing in the SEC. I mean, look at these analytics. The SEC we're not as top heavy as last year, but we're still tougher than a lot of these other leagues. So to go 16-2, was pretty good. Then Rob says, who's gonna be our women's coach? Yeah, my girl Kelly Ray Finley. She's who I have on my YouTube picture. I took a picture with her. I met her. Um, yeah, just a couple of years of just not great women's basketball, and the SEC is a really tough conference with South Carolina and Texas and LSU, like those three teams in your league in women's basketball. So there's some talk about the Ole Miss coach. Let me look up her name. I think it's like Delisha Milton or something like that. They want to go after the Ole Miss coach. So kind of like, you know, football. We want to go after Lane Kiffin. We want to go after the Ole Miss women's coach. She's pretty good. Um, you know, we'll see what happens. I honestly think, you know, if we could get a really good uh Gino Auriemma disciple, that's who I would go after. Like Shay Ralph, who was coaching with him for so many years. Um, she's at Vanderbilt now, and they're killing it. Um, that's who I'd go after. But you know, who knows? Because UConn, let me tell you, there's one thing I will tell you, 100%. And if I'm wrong, throw me out with the bathwater. Okay, UConn is winning that women's tournament. Okay, I don't care what anybody says. Texas, yeah, they're good. UCLA, yeah, they're good. No, they ain't beating UConn. Okay, UConn is going to destroy. They're going to win by 30. So put that in your women's bracket and smoke it. All right, are we going? Are we doing our gut bracket?
Let's do it. Let's do it. We're going to do this live on stream right now. We're just going to do South, all right? We'll do like the full bracket another time, but let's definitely do the South. Wait, can I go to my picks? Well, no, it might just be easier for them if we do the. Hold on, let me get that set up real quick, EJ.
Oh yeah, I think if you just click it, you could probably
yeah, we won't. Yeah, I'm gonna have
it'll
to.
advance. Maybe we can get our final four and then like pick our South bracket really quick.
Yeah, let me hold up. Let me do that real quick.
Because these are some interesting matchups. I mean, from a gut, without any research, um, I'm already telling y'all, I love Arizona, but Arizona got to play Arkansas, who I'm just going to tell you right now, the only reason I would pick Arizona to beat Arkansas is because Arizona is similar to us in that they score inside. And when Arkansas plays a team that can really get off numerous high percentage low post shots at the rim, that's how they start to break down a little bit. And then Arizona is good defensively. But when you got a guy like Acuff who you can just give the ball to and just like, hey, you know, uh Kemba Walker us to a victory, like he can do it. So I don't know. That's a dangerous team. But playing Wisconsin is always, because I remember Wisconsin beat that Kentucky team that I thought was unstoppable. So we'll see what happens.
All right.
Um,
We got it up
oh,
on the screen now, EJ. So yeah, well, Rob said do anything but the South. We know y'all Gator bias. All right, so we'll do the South. But listen, Rob, we are gonna do the entire thing. I promise that. So EJ, we'll just do it together. So I feel like we might be in line with a lot of these picks, but we'll just go together on some of these. So let's actually start with Florida or Lee or for that number 16 seed. I'm assuming we both have Florida here.
I'm gonna go Lehigh in the play-in game, and then I'm gonna go the Gators to win that game. Here's the thing: we have to come out looking like we want to be in this March Madness. In this, even though we're gonna overpower and destroy them, we got to be coming out looking like we want to be there, right? Especially in that first half, and then the second half, get the backups in and let them blow them out. But now that you're in the tournament, you don't have to worry about like statistics and all that. Put the freshmen in, dominate, get healthy, and let's get ready to go for the second game.
Let's do it. I like it. All right, we're going to dive into Clemson and Iowa, EJ. I'm going to pick Iowa to get a win here. I think Iowa's dynamic, nature on offense is going to be too much for Clemson's defense. Clemson doesn't have the offense to keep up with them. I think Iowa pulls away, wins by like probably 7.
Yeah, I'm going Iowa too. I mean, I want Clemson to win because I feel like it's a better matchup, and Iowa is a tricky team. Um, but I'm gonna go Iowa. They're gonna slow the game down, and Clemson's gonna get frustrated, and they're gonna be mad, and they can't make shots, and then Iowa's gonna win. So Iowa, Florida. We always play Iowa in like the that bowl game, that one Tampa bowl game.
Not the Reliquist Bowl. What was it before the Reliquist Bowl? It was the Gasparilla Bowl.
Oh,
We'd always play them over there, dude. Every year.
Oh no, the Outback Bowl.
Outback. It was Outback. Yes.
It was Outback. We always play Iowa in the freaking Outback Bowl, and now we're gonna play them in March Madness. So there you go.
Annoying, bro. I can't stand them. It's either them or Michigan for like 10 years in a row there. Next one we have Vanderbilt versus McNeese. I'm gonna go Vanderbilt here, EJ.
So the thing about McNeese, I'm trying to see if they have any 3-point defense whatsoever to contest Vanderbilt. And it doesn't look like they really do. So I'm gonna go Vanderbilt to romp and roll. And Vanderbilt's playing really hot right now. But it's always a little bit volatile with Vanderbilt because, if they're jump shooting team, so if they're not on, you can upset them. So we'll see. But Vandy.
Also, McNeese State is first in turnovers forced, percentage-wise, in the country.
Oh, okay.
So that's just a weird fact on how they're here at the 12 seed. They know how to force turnovers. And I think that Vanderbilt's gotten better with that, but I think that's something they struggle with early on, if I'm not mistaken. So that could be something, EJ, if they do want to disrupt that 3-point kind of flow and momentum that Vanderbilt does like to rely on. I think McNeese could interrupt that and disrupt it a little bit with the turnover play there. So just something to look out for. But yeah, I agree. I think Vanderbilt does move on. We got Nebraska versus Troy, EJ. Who do you have here?
All right, so Nebraska, very similar to Iowa. Spread you out, make your bigs come and guard out on the perimeter. And Troy, where is Troy? Oh, yeah, they're way down there. Give me Nebraska in this one. I like Troy. It looks like they have a decent effective field goal percentage. But Nebraska's defense is actually statistically one of the better ones, so I don't think it really matter. So give me Nebraska.
Yeah, it's funny. Troy does like to shoot threes. They defend well from 3, and they love to shoot 3. Problem is the reason Nebraska does have that number 5 defense in the country is because that 3-point defense is like actually insane. Troy doesn't have a chance for that reason, so I agree with you there. I'm going to pick Nebraska to move on. So now we're going to go down one more to North Carolina versus VCU, EJ.
Oh, okay. VCU had a little bit of a hot streak here. We needed them to beat Dayton to get like Missouri and Texas into the tournament. VCU is one of those. They're a pretty good little team. Like, it's hard for me to like go all chalk, but I gotta go to North Carolina. Tar Heels.
I agree. Some of these wins that North Carolina has this year is actually insane. I think they beat Duke, if I'm not mistaken, early on in the year.
Yeah, they did beat, but they had Caleb, their all-star freshman, but he's hurt for the year now. Yeah, so
well, that explains some of those losses later on.
Yeah, so they're just not the same high-scoring team.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna go North Carolina as well, but that changes my next pick. Illinois versus Penn, EJ. Who do you got?
Now, these Ivy League teams, I got to tell you, they all five guys can shoot threes and they run plays in the half court. So it's going to be tough, but Illinois is too big and too sophisticated offensively for you to really consistently stop them if you're pinned. So I think just over the course of the game, regardless of how well um, pinned the Quakers play, Illinois is just going to end up with more points. So I'm going to go with Illinois. But don't be surprised if Penn keeps it somewhat close early, just because they like to keep it. I'm trying to find uh, their adjusted tempo. Um, Here we go. So Penn, um, yeah. So Penn they're a quick team. They like to play fast and shoot threes. So I don't know. Give me Illinois. Um, by the spread, whatever that is.
Beautiful, beautiful. I hate how many good teams we're picking here. I know an upset's gonna happen. We got St. Mary's. I'm with you there. By the way, I think Illinois is once again just a battle tested team. Have some really good wins on the year. I'm gonna go Illinois. St. Mary's versus Texas A&M. EJ.
Ooh, I don't like Buckyball. Can Buckyball mess up St. Mary's? That is the question of the hour. I'd have to look up I'm just going off gut, off of what I've seen from both teams. I'm gonna go St. Mary's. I just think if you can not turn it over against Buckyball, you're gonna have easy shots. And then if you score off those easy shots, you can set up your defense and make Texas A&M, who's not really that great of a half-court offense, have to work. So give me St. Mary's. St. Mary's is actually a pretty hot little team right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It had 8 wins in a row before they lost to Santa Clara. So St. Mary's gets it done.
I'm gonna be with you there. I'm picking St. Mary's as well. Texas A&M just not as consistent as I personally would like. Now we got Houston and Idaho. EJ, I'm gonna pick Houston here, man. I mean, I think we talked about it earlier. Houston's one of the best teams in the country. There's a reason why they're a number 2 seed. I believe most of the team is back from last year. I might be getting mixed up. I think this is one of the teams that brought back a lot of people. And so, great defense. Number 2 seed for a reason. I'm picking Houston.
Houston, not even close.
Good pick. Love it. Let's work our way back up. Houston, St. Mary's, CJ.
Oh,
I like this team. I like this matchup.
Okay. All right. So now we're talking. St. Mary's, if you want to do anything positive with your lives, beat Houston. Okay, do us a favor and beat Houston. It ain't happening though. Houston is just a little too strong. They got the Kingston Flemings freshman who's pretty good. Now he's not as good as Acuff. Okay. Ain't none of them as good as Acuff, but Fleming can score. And I like Uzan, I like Sharp and Tugler blocking shots. Houston gets to the Sweet 16.
Good pick. Good pick. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Houston as well. I think this game is gonna be a really interesting one, and I would definitely keep an eye on it. Wait, the national championship's in Lucas Oil Stadium. Hell yeah, that's fun. All right, North Carolina versus Illinois. EJ, who do we got?
I feel like we're just picking the higher seeds.
I know, I hate crazy. It. Yeah, this is gonna be so wrong.
But this is a gut bracket, so I mean, what do you expect? I mean, we're gonna do some research. But here's the thing: if you pick an upset, you have to really make sure you're right, because if you're wrong, then the team that you said was going to get upset is going to end up advancing, and then your whole bracket's busted after that. So it may not be that smart to pick upsets early. So I'm going to go with Illinois in this one just because North Carolina doesn't have Wilson. They can't score enough points. Illinois is a little bit dynamic, and North Carolina is not as great. They're not as good as a defensive team as you have to be if you're going to beat Illinois. Like I feel like you got to be like a top 10 defense to beat Illinois, to stop them at the rim, and I just don't think North Carolina's got that right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to pick Illinois as well to go ahead and move on there to face Houston. Vanderbilt versus Nebraska. I think that this is going to be one of the best games of the season. Something we talked about earlier, EJ. What is Nebraska good at? Why does Nebraska have a top 5 defense? They have a top 5 defense because their perimeter defense is just dirty as hell. And Vanderbilt, though, they can play inside. They could definitely play inside in some mid-range a lot. But it is going to take away some of those threes. Nebraska does have the 50th best offense in the country, if I'm not mistaken. So not a great offense by any means. But I think the question of this game is, can Nebraska's offense keep up with this Vanderbilt offense, even though Vanderbilt is going to be struggling a little bit, I think, trying to find an identity within the three-point line, especially how they've been playing recently, EJ. So something to think about there. I want to pick Nebraska really, really bad. But I'll let you, let me hear your insight.
I'm going to pick Nebraska just because I don't want to play Vanderbilt. Okay.
Good pick.
So Nebraska, I'm like, give me some hope, Cornhuskers, that you can actually win this game. And, as I'm looking throughout, their season, they've struggled against teams that have, obviously teams that have size. Michigan, Illinois, Purdue, they struggled in those games. I'm not liking how they got destroyed by UCLA recently in a runaway game. But I'm trying to just see, have they played anyone that's somewhat even comparable to Vanderbilt? Because remember, Nebraska started the season 20-0. Them and Vanderbilt were like undefeated for a long period of time. So it's apropos that they both should be playing. I'm gonna go Nebraska. I think they've proven that they can defend and they can make clutch shots, and they don't turn it over. So yeah, I'm gonna go, and then they can play at all different tempos. Give me Nebraska.
Yeah. It's interesting for sure. I think Nebraska, like you said, 20-0, whatever it was, and then they lose to Michigan, they lose to Illinois, right? 2 highly ranked teams here, a third and first seed. Then they go on to lose against Purdue, which Purdue's, what are they seeded? Pretty high, 3, right? If I'm not mistaken, somewhere. Yeah, no, there are 2. Purdue's a 2. So those are, those are great losses to have. Then they lose to Iowa. And then they, like you said, that UCLA game. But UCLA's been a weird team too, man. They've had some really good wins this year. Have been kind of all over the place as well.
Yeah.
I feel like they're one of those teams that just no one's wanting to play over there. So, yeah, I'm going to go Nebraska as well. I like this Nebraska team. It's also just a better matchup for the Florida Gators. So I'd much rather play Nebraska than Vanderbilt, because at least we know, hey, we can kind of play a little bit better in the paint, and kind of go away from their strength on defense, which is perimeter play. But, of course, when that happens, we'll probably draw up a bunch of perimeter plays with Klabzar. But next one we have is Florida and Iowa. Hopefully not. Will be an interesting game for sure. I think Nebraska definitely does not want to play Iowa again, because if I'm not mistaken, they lost. I think they're 0-2 on the year against Iowa. I think. And so I'm sure they don't want to play them. But poor Nebraska's in a pretty. Either way, man, think about it. They're going to go on, if they beat Troy, they're going to go on to play Vanderbilt and then either Florida or I mean, it could be Clemson, but Florida or Iowa in this situation, which is just absolute hell for them. Then goes on to play Illinois or Houston. But anyway, what do you think about this one, EJ?
So Iowa, I was trying to look at comparables from a tempo standpoint. They're South Carolina, but they shoot a lot better than South Carolina, obviously. Um, this is a game where we're gonna have to make some threes to force Iowa to respect the three on defense. Then again, if we don't make threes, we can rebound and score on the interior against them. They don't seem to have great interior defense. With that said, I'm going to go us to win this game. If we're out running, ripping, running, high flying, cutting, getting to the rim, getting a defensive rebound, and beating Iowa back in transition, seeing how quickly Iowa gets back is going to be big. And this is assuming Iowa beats Clemson, by the way. We would rather play Clemson than Iowa, just so everyone knows. But we're picking Iowa. I'm going to go Florida to win this game against Iowa. I think we're going to get a big lead, and then they seem to not be that great of a team if they get behind and have to catch up. So I like that, and I think Xavier Lee is going to have to really get out there, and Boogie Flan's going to have to Sturts. He's going to have to defend him really well. I think we can do it. I like Todd Golden to drop some good plays, and I think we win and get to the Sweet 16.
I agree. I agree 100%. I mean, you can exploit this Iowa defense specifically in the paint. 54% they're allowing on 2 points, which is still, I think, above average defensively, but a lot better than some of these other teams that we'd be facing, counting Clemson. So I agree. I think that this is that's a good thing there. But this Iowa, I mean, hopefully our defense can do enough though against this Iowa offense, because yeah, I mean, we're not going to be able, it's tough. It's tough. We'll see what happens. I'd rather play Clemson. We talked about that earlier, but I think the Gators do move on to play Nebraska, EJ. Number 1 seed Florida versus number 4 Nebraska. What are we looking at with this one?
So assuming this is the matchup, Nebraska does seem to have struggled against teams that have lots and lots of size. But not by much. Not by much. I think they typically have really good game plans against like Michigan and teams like Illinois. When you look at the Illinois matchup, both games were close. And the Michigan game was very close as well. The Purdue game, they got beat pretty handedly in the Big Ten tournament on a neutral floor. Purdue, like I said, when you're playing hot, you're going to end up winning the tournament. Michigan was not really playing that hot in the Big Ten tournament. Purdue was. But a lot of that game had to do with Braden Smith controlling the game, facilitating. I think we can beat Nebraska and move on, because I don't really see Nebraska's defense, even though it's a top 7 defense, being suited to stop the stuff that we want to do on offense. Like, we score from turning you over, getting a transition, and throwing it into the paint, like within 4 seconds of getting a rebound. And that's something that I don't think Nebraska is suited to play against. Now, Michigan is a similar team than us. And they, played decent in that game. But I'm going to go, I think we'll be able to win this game with rebounding and transition play and defense, and only shoot threes if we really are open. I like our chances.
I agree. I think our offense lines up with their defense, And so I'm going to go Florida as well to move on to, what is that, the Elite Eight? See what happens there. Illinois versus Houston. It's actually a pretty good game, EJ. Who do you got here?
Oh, I really want Illinois to win because we actually beat Illinois in the we did a preseason like scrimmage and we beat them. Illinois does remind me a little bit of Vanderbilt in that they can hit jump shots like crazy. They got this one guy. What's this one guy's name? Is it Merkovich? I think it must be. Is it Merkovich? Well, they obviously have Andrei Stojakovic, who's like the son of, you know, and they have Ivisic, who used to play at Arkansas. But they got this one guy that just doesn't miss at all. So we're gonna have to hound him. But Houston, it's it done.
I don't know if you see the screen, EJ, but March Madness, the website, has a really cool thing that I just realized. You can put up
compare
different stats, and it's leaning heavily toward Illinois for this pick. They have more opponent efficiency, Houston, but overall efficiency goes over to Illinois. You got overall points in the paint, Illinois. Overall 3-point percentage, Illinois. Overall field goal percentage, Illinois. Overall rebounds per game, Illinois. Interesting there.
Well, Illinois has like the number 2 offense in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
But but you're right. That experience of Houston, that team chemistry of Houston is definitely something you can't really fake. This is a tough one. I think it's a toss up. We'll go Houston. But yeah, that's going to be a hell of a game to watch, man. I'm very excited for this game, for sure. And then that leaves good.
Well, if you've got Houston, Illinois is kind of like us. They like pretty boy ball, right? Like free flowing. You can pass the ball. You're wide open. Houston ain't gonna allow that. They're gonna be like, y'all gonna have to shoot over us if you're gonna make it. And then I like Houston's rebounding. Now Houston did go on a little bit of a losing streak here. They lost to Kansas, Arizona, Iowa State all in a row. Whereas, wait, is that accurate? Yeah, they had a 3-game losing streak. But I don't know. I just feel like Houston is going to make it ugly for Illinois, and Illinois is going to be like, they found us. And maybe they did. They probably did. And, so, yeah. Wait, who'd you pick? Who are you going with?
I'll go with Houston. I'm leaning heavily toward Illinois, though.
Okay, pick Illinois.
But I mean,
remember, it's in Houston. Remember, it's in Houston.
You're right. It is in Houston, dude. And no, if it's in Houston, you got to go. Especially with Houston's defense, it's going to be Houston's defense versus Illinois' offense, right? It's in Houston. That's what is home field advantage? You said it was like 5 points, right?
It's probably like 2 or 3.
2 or 3. I like Illinois, but let's pick both. If Houston goes and plays Florida, what's your pick here, EJ? That this is a scary matchup. I don't like playing a super great defense like this.
Yeah, because we can't overcome it. It will totally depend on, number one, do we even make it? Because we're gonna have to beat Nebraska and Iowa. We're gonna have to be Big Ten champs to make it to the freaking Elite Eight. The one thing that I really would be interested in knowing is how we're playing. It will all depend on how we're playing going into the Houston game. If you were to say they're going to play yesterday, I'd be picking Houston because, like, I don't know what we're doing out there. But maybe we're clicking, we're making shots, we're playing more confident. And if we get back to the team that we saw against Arkansas and Mississippi State, that, we're free flowing, we're pressing, we're getting up in your grill, we're making shots, we're getting in transition, we can beat Houston. Because Houston, they got Tugler, but outside of him, um, it's a little bit more small ball at the rim, which I think is good because you're quick and you can like play defense against Chinulu and Condon, but it's not going to stretch Chinulu and Condon to the point to where they got to go out to the 3-point line and defend like Washington and McKitchens or whoever that guy was, and Okereke from Vanderbilt shooting 7 out of 10 threes, right? Like Houston is not that type of team. They're going to want to drive it in, try to get points in the paint, try to rebound. The issue that also will have is is Xavier Lee turning it over? Is Boogie Flan turning it over? Because Houston, if you turn it over against them, it's like a jailbreak to the rim. And the Houston, fans. Now we did play Houston in San Antonio last year, and I was there, and there was a lot of Houston fans, so we won that one. So a part of me says go with Houston right now based on how the teams are playing. But if we can get back to what we were before we went to the SC tournament, I think we have a really good chance at beating Houston, because Houston is not the same team. Like I like Kingston Flemings. He's not Acuff. Okay, let's just put that out there. He ain't no Acuff. Uzan and Sharp are really good, but they aren't dead shot shooters. Sharp is a pretty good shooter. They had LJ Cryer last year, who was a little bit more dynamic. So I'll say we'll win. I'll pick us, but only under the assumption that we get back to what we were looking like when we were playing Arkansas.
Yeah, that's what's scary, man. Like, you talk about the turnovers, and like that's something that we were doing decent there for a little bit, and then it's when we play from behind. If we get behind, like, that's the thing about this team. Last year we were the total opposite. We had 4 comebacks in a row to win the national championship, counting the national championship. And then this year it's like we played the best last year when we were under pressure. This year it's the exact opposite. Yeah, they're really good in the paint too. That's the scary thing. You know what I mean? They're only allowing, I think, 44% on shots on 2-pointers, which is, or 45%, sorry, which is unreal. 32% from 3. So, which is kind of aligns with what we're doing. But
right.
But yeah,
hey, give up your percentage, Houston.
Right. So I'm scared about this matchup. It being in Houston, them playing a little more aggressive in the paint, having a really good defense. It's really going to come down to how efficient we're going to be defensively against these guys. I'll go Florida, but I don't like this matchup at all, EJ.
Yeah, this is Fleming, Sharp, and Uzan, I think is going to be a little bit of a better backcourt. But when you look at the front court, can we get the ball into their hands and dominate on the glass? That is where we have the advantage, because they got Joseph Tugler, who's a great defensive player. But outside of Tugler, I don't really see, a lot of great play. I mean, they bring in, who do they bring in? They bring in Chase McCarty off the bench. He's a freshman. They bring in, but he's more like a 3-4 like hybrid. They bring in Khalifa Sacco, barely plays. Chris Sinak also plays a lot, but they're freshmen. So I like our front court matchup against Houston. It's just whether or not Boogie Fland and Xavier Lee are playing like they need to be playing, downhill, ball strong to beat Houston. So I'm like I said, let's see how we play against the second round game. If we're flimsy, floppy, not making shots, it's gonna be a long march. But if we're crisp, getting up and down, nailing that shot, Clavjar's coming off the bench in rhythm, hey, I like our chances.
All right, well, let's go Florida there to go ahead and move on. And then if it is Illinois, EJ, how do you feel better about that one? Do you feel worse about that one? What's your feeling there?
It'll be the complete opposite of a game. So it's like with Illinois, they can play a lot like Vanderbilt in the sense that you know, I actually think they both are very similar teams. Like Illinois is second in the country in offense, 28th in defense. Vanderbilt is 7th in the nation in offense, 31st on defense. So they're pretty much statistically like very similar teams. And it's a tough matchup for Florida because they're naturally making shots as a jump shooting team in Illinois, and they're going to force all of our bigs away from the paint to defend the three. The question will be, can the Illinois defense pressure you like Vanderbilt? And I don't think they can. I don't think their guards are naturally as quick and overplaying on the defensive side as Vanderbilt. And the quickness of the Vanderbilt guards, Tanner and Miles, and then they brought in that Bing guy who can like cut to the basket and dunk. Illinois is not as they're not as a quick team. They're a solid defensive team that stands there and forces you to shoot over them than a team that's going to over pursue and try to go for steals and like that. So from that standpoint, I think our offense will fare better against Illinois than Vanderbilt. Because if you think about Vanderbilt, if they're making shots with their offense and they're turning you over, that's how you end up getting blown out. I think Illinois will shoot the ball well against us. I don't think they're going to have that great of a defensive showing that Vanderbilt did. So I think it'll be a close game, and it'll just come down to who gets their shot. Like, can Florida go into the paint and shoot most of our shots at the rim against Illinois? And can we force Illinois to get out of rhythm and shoot shots that they're uncomfortable with? That's the only way that I think we can actually beat them. Now, we did beat them in the scrimmage. So there you go.
All right. Yeah, it'll be I do remember that. It'll be interesting for sure, man. Spoiler, we have Florida making the Final Four. We'll see if my opinion changes on that or how I feel about that as we continue to look at everything. EJ, we're already over 2 hours into this, but I do want to end on one thing. Just give the audience one quick thing. Who's your Cinderella story, Cinderella story this year? If you could pick one team.
Ooh, okay. So here's interesting. Like, who was the Cinderella? Was there a Cinderella team last year that
Nittany State had a few good wins, but like, were they really the Cinderella story?
Cinderellas are just few and far. I thought it was going to be Drake. Drake won it. They beat Missouri. You know. Then that's the other thing. If you're a good mid-major team, your players get poached and your coaches get poached now. Mm-hmm. So it's like there's no mid-majors. If you're saying Cinderella in terms of who is a team that's seated below number 4 that can make the Sweet 16.
I like that. Sweet 16, right. Elite 8 area, yeah.
Yes. Who is that team? So, when I'm looking at the bracket, hey, guys, I'm trying to find somebody. I really am. It's actually hard for me to find somebody. But if you're really going to ask me, I'm going to pick 2 teams. Okay? Seated 4 and below. Or below 4. So 5 and below. I'm going to go St. John's. out of the East to make the Sweet 16. I think they can beat Northern Iowa, and then I think they could beat Kansas. I'm going to also stay in the East and go UCLA.
It's a great
I think
pick.
UCLA can beat UCF is a tough team though. Like they got the Duke assistant guy as their head. Like they are good. So UCF could beat UCLA, but if UCLA beats UCF, it's a lot of UC. I think UCLA could beat UConn and go to the Sweet 16. And then the third team, I will switch over to the West and say Miami Hurricanes. I really like the Miami Hurricanes to beat Missouri, but then to upset Purdue. Even though Purdue is playing really, really well as the Big Ten tournament champs, I feel like everybody's going to pick them. But I think Miami Hurricanes, Jai Lucas, that's a team that I think if you're going to say, give me three, those are the three. UCLA, St. John's, Miami. I don't think any of the other teams have a chance. Now, Texas Tech can go hot and beat Bama. If you're, but those are my teams. Who you got?
I love the UCLA pick so much. I think UCLA is probably my number one. Them being 7, I think yes they could beat UCF. Yes they can beat UConn. I don't think they get past Michigan State, assuming that Michigan State makes it. Because I do have South Florida upsetting Louisville, but then I have Michigan State obviously beating South Florida in the second round to go on. So I don't think they beat Michigan State, but I do really like the UCLA team, so that'd be my pick. I was looking at Miami, but
now UCLA did beat Michigan State in the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, but I mean it's a little bit different when everything's on the line. That's you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and also too, it's so hard to beat the same team twice in a row when you guys played that recent. So that I mean that's going to be tough. Where is this played at? Do you know where the East is played at?
So each of the first 4 games are in these weird pods. I don't have any clue because it's not truly the East until you get to the Sweet 16.
Mm-hmm. But if UCLA did face Michigan State in the Sweet 16, where would that be?
Oh yeah, East.
Let's see. I wonder if I can click. Hold on. Let me just click UCLA, Michigan State, Michigan State.
Where's the?
It should say. No, it doesn't.
Where are these? Is it Washington D.C.?
I just didn't know what kind of home field because I think that's another. I mean, obviously it's nowhere near UCLA, so that's also a problem for UCLA. You know what I mean?
Let's see here. Yeah, can you please just tell us where the hell these games are, people?
It's not gonna be near UCLA, so you know what I mean. That's I feel like that's another reason why Michigan State's gonna get it. But I do like UCLA, so yeah, that's my pick as well, EJ, to go ahead and advance and make some stuff happen. So we'll see. I'm excited. Rob said, "Wow, UF to Natty, shocker." I don't have Florida making it past Final Four. I have Duke beating Florida if we do make it to the Final Four. I think Duke's just too good. Even though we do act like it's a little interesting though. We the thing about Duke is like they're not great in transition. They literally are one of the worst teams in transition offensively and defensively. And guess what Florida likes to do? They like to get to the basket really quick in the paint. And so that I'm just saying that is a thing to look at.
And then if you look at Duke,
but they're so good.
They're very good, but when they played us the first game, Patrick Gamba was a beast. And he's hurt right now. So I don't know if they're saying he might come back in the tournament. They won the ACC tournament without him. That just shows how weak the ACC is. Like, if you took 2 starters off of any of these other championship teams, like Arizona and Florida, well, we lost even with the who's the other one? Well, Michigan lost,
Michigan.
but they lost the 6 man. Um, I don't think they're winning, but I just think let me go back and like if you go back and look at Patrick Gamba, okay, he played 34 minutes, only scored 11 points, but he had 5 rebounds, he had 5 assists as the 4 man. But the one thing that I do think he did in that game was he gave Chinyelu he was a nightmare for Chinyelu. Like Chinyelu could not score on him. And Gamba was just a really tough matchup. And this was a game where Thomas Houck had to play the whole game, and it's just so and Xavier Lee only scored 4 points. Boogie Flan kind of took over there late in that game, if you remember. But um, I think if you go before the SEC tournament and you say who's going to go to the Final Four, I would say a lot of brackets would have. If you were everyone pick their bracket before the SEC tournament, everyone's picking Florida. But because of the one data point against Vanderbilt, everyone's like, yeah, they're not going to make it anymore. And I don't know. I mean, remember Auburn lost to, I think they got beat by Ole Miss in the SEC tournament last year, and they still made the Final Four. So
Also, if you look at the matchup to matchup for Vanderbilt and Florida, we're up 63-51 on them for the matchup analyst score. So yeah, I mean it's and if we remember that first time we played Vanderbilt, we won in Vandy, right? We won in Nashville, and so we'll see what happens. We'll see. I hope it lit a fire under us, and I think we'll know pretty early on. Like I said, with that Clemson or Iowa game, I think that's really gonna
that's gonna tell us if we're ready
yep.
or if we're ready for March or not. Because if we come out there and let Iowa hammer time on us, then I'm like, look, we don't lose people from Iowa, okay?
I didn't even know there were people in Iowa. But yeah, no,
we don't lose to them.
No, we don't. So I'm excited, man. It'll be good. Like I said, we'll come on here. Either I'll be at the game on Sunday, or I will be we'll be on here doing a live. So y'all just stay ready, man. Stay, like I said, hit the little bell notification on our YouTube, right where you subscribe, so you're notified when we do post. And also the link down below has our Instagram to it, SwampCast Instagram. We'll be posting what the reward will be, or even if we do that, alongside the actual bracket that we're going to have, the public bracket. So make sure you guys tune into that, man, because that'd be really fun there. So me and EJ will talk about that, keep you guys updated there, EJ. But any last thing you want to tell everyone here?
Go Gators. Let's get this thing. We got an extra rest. Arkansas, we let them win the SEC tournament. But hey, this is the big boys dance right now. So let's put our big boy pants on and get out there and let's lock it in.
Lock it in, baby. Let's get it. But we appreciate you guys watching as always, man. Yeah. Rob said one more thing. So EJ, you just said this team reminds you of Auburn last year. So no natty.
No, I said Auburn lost in the SEC tournament, but still made the Final Four. So it's not like you should just look at that one data point and say we're not making the Final Four just because we lost to Vanderbilt.
But
you know what I mean?
EJ did mention, though, that every year the Florida has won the national championship. We've won the SEC tourney, correct?
Yeah. So that's the other thing. We have not won the national championship without also having won the SEC tournament. So, I mean, that's just what history says. So, let's see what happens. We had a 12-game winning streak where we won by 20 points per game prior to the Vanderbilt game. So it's kind of like when you look at the computers and the analytics, they're going to take into consideration all 13 games, not just the one loss to Vanderbilt. You know what I mean? So let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens, man. Hopefully the guys can turn a corner. But hey, once again, appreciate you guys watching, man. Keep updated because, stay connected with us. We have a lot of fun stuff on the way for sure, but we appreciate y'all watching as always, and we'll catch you next time, baby. Go Gators.